Captain Rinaldan sat alone in the cockpit of his interceptor, framed by the dim glow of control panels. Outside, the dead world Valeria sprawled beneath him, its surface cloaked in thick sulfur clouds. His scanners were silent. No movement, no life, just a heavy stillness. His orders were clear: do not engage. Bound by duty and isolation, Ren's figure seemed to float between the vast emptiness of space and the desolation below, a sentinel in silent vigil. Crackling through the static of his open comlink came a trembling, desperate voice. "Run, they've sealed my people in biovaults. Please." The fragile transmission cut through the cold silence, jolting Ren from his solitude. His eyes narrowed, focusing on the flickering comm interface as the plea echoed again, raw and urgent. In that moment, hope pierced the despair that had settled like a fog around him, stirring a flicker of action deep within. The voice belonged to Admiral Thessa Cairn, Ren's mentor and guiding star, now branded a traitor by the very council they served. Her holographic visage flickered before him, face etched with resolve and pain. Ren's brow furrowed, caught in a storm of loyalty and betrayal. Memories of years spent learning under her guidance clashed with the harsh truth of her condemnation. The weight of his conflicted heart pressed heavy, the lines between right and wrong blurred in the shadows of politics and trust. Below, massive council dreadnoughts loomed ominously in orbit, their hulls blotting out stars as they deployed enormous orbital nets. Glowing arcs of energy stretched taut, ready to ensnare anything attempting escape. Sulfur clouds roiled fiercely across Valeria's surface, swirling beneath the steel fingers reaching down. The atmosphere was thick with impending oppression. No escape, no mercy. Ren watched the slow, deliberate cage lowering around the planet, the machinery of control tightening like a noose. Ren's finger hovered trembling above the abort command, the weight of his oath crushing down like gravity. Every instinct screamed to obey, to stand down and watch the planet fall. Yet his jaw clenched, breath steadying, resolve hardening like forged steel. With a decisive press, he overrode the orders, voice steady and fierce. "Hold on, Admiral. I'm coming." In that heartbeat, he shattered the code that bound him, a single act of rebellion kindling hope in a galaxy choking on obedience. The stars bore witness as Ren chose defiance, and the fate of many hung on his courage. The cold edict of Galactic Code 9b was etched in every officer's mind. Any officer aiding a declared traitor is subject to summary execution. The text glowed ominously on cold steel plaques lining the corridors, reinforced by flickering hollow banners projecting the law's ruthless certainty. Stern officials patrolled the halls, their eyes sharp and unyielding. Fear wasn't just a feeling here. It was a weapon forged to bind loyalty and crush dissent. Every gaze carried the weight of surveillance, reminding all that obedience was not optional but enforced through dread. Hollow banners blazed across public squares. Traitor Thessa Cairn, dead or captured. The woman's face stared coldly from every screen, a symbol of defiance branded enemy of the state. Citizens passed under the glaring projections with wary eyes, whispers trailing behind. The manhunt was no secret. It was a spectacle of fear and control. The council's reach extended into every corner, and those who once trusted now averted their gaze, caught in the swirl of condemnation and suspicion. Patrol frigates sliced through the starfields, their sensors sweeping hyperspace lanes for the faintest sign of dissent. Ships moved like shadows, engines muted beneath the cold hum of scanners. Every deviation was a danger, labeled in glowing red as high-risk contagion by automated protocols. The paranoia of the Council's grip was suffocating, wrapping the galaxy in an invisible net. Freedom of movement was now a perilous gamble, with every jump scrutinized, every silence a possible threat. Ren ducked low beneath the Neuralink checks sweeping through his command wing, muscles tense as he moved with practiced precision. His voice muttered, One wrong ping and I vanish. A cold reminder of how fragile his existence was under the Council's watchful eyes. Each motion was calculated to evade detection, slipping through scanning beams like a ghost. Sweat beaded at his temple as the hum of surveillance closed in, a constant threat pressing against his will to survive. Warning lights blinked furiously across the cockpit HUD, signaling the sensor nets had tagged his interceptor's transponder as an unauthorized deviation. Alarms buzzed low, and targeting locks began to hone in, a red storm of hostility converging. The cold glow of markers tracked his every move, isolating him as a fugitive from the Council's iron grip. In that moment, the space around him shifted from protector to hunted. Ren's breath hitched as the stark realization sank in. He was now marked, a lone outlaw in the vast void. In the distance, rows of biovault pods drifted silently in tractor fields. Once sanctuaries designed to preserve life, now cold tombs sealed shut. Soft life support indicators flickered faintly behind reinforced glass, their glow a ghostly echo of hope long since extinguished. The silence surrounding them was deafening. What was meant to be refuge had become a cruel prison, a monument to the Council's merciless control. Ren's gaze lingered on the floating capsules, each one a testament to lives lost beneath the weight of fear. Every doctrine drilled into him, every implant pulsing loyalty demanded absolute obedience, until a whisper crackled faintly over his comms, a voice defiant and raw. Ren's jaw clenched as he met the rising ember of rebellion in his own heart. The command codes and mandates faded beneath that soft murmur, overriding the iron grip of control. In the solitude of space, the spark of resistance was born, a fragile hope ready to ignite a revolution that obedience could no longer smother. Ren's fingers slammed the override, seizing control from the autopilot. The interceptor plunged into the plasma belts, shielding Valria's night side, a tempest of crackling energy arcs and glowing storms. Cockpit alarms shrieked warnings, but Ren's gaze stayed sharp, muscles taut with determination. Flashes of blue and orange plasma streaked past the canopy, threatening to shred the hull. Each precise maneuver threaded the ship through charged arcs like a dancer defying death. The planet's shadow grew nearer, promising refuge or ruin. Orders screamed in his mind, but the call of duty to save Admiral Cairn shattered protocol. This desperate course was his rebellion, against rigid command and cold mandates. Bravery carved in the electric storm, Ren raced toward a fate bound not by law, but by loyalty. In the dim glow of the cockpit, Admiral Thessa Cairn's hologram flickered, her figure wavering like a fragile flame. Her voice, tinged with warning, broke the tense silence. "You shouldn't have." Before she could finish, Ren cut in, firm yet gentle. "I couldn't let you die." The words hung heavy, a silent testament to the bond forged through years of shared missions and trials. Their eyes locked, her holographic gaze steady, his resolute. No need for protocols or explanations here. Only trust that transcended rank and decree. Even in the chaos of rebellion, their connection was a beacon, a quiet promise that some ties outlasted orders and treachery. The hologram shimmered softly, a guardian's presence amid the storm. Ren's hands danced over the cockpit's controls, fingers deftly rerouting targeting arrays to cloak their approach from Council radars. Each override was a calculated betrayal, severing ties with the command he once pledged allegiance to. Digital overlays glowed with encrypted warnings, alarms muted by his steady defiance. Data streams twisted, bending the sensor's gaze away from the vault where innocent lives waited. The weight of treason pressed on his shoulders, but survival demanded sacrifice. With every reroute, the interceptor slipped deeper into enemy lines, a ghost amid the storm of surveillance. The hum of processors matched the thrum of his heartbeat, tension coiling tighter. In this web of deception, Ren wielded his skill as both sword and shield, turning the Council's own technology against them. His betrayal was not for power, but for hope. Amid the crackling tension, Karen's voice broke through with a chuckle, thick with emotion and history. Last time I heard that, I hung you 3 stars. Ren smirked, the ghost of a grin warming his lips. Consider it payment in full, he replied, eyes gleaming with a rare lightness. The hologram flickered, her laughter a gentle ripple in the sterile cockpit. In that moment, humor became their fragile armor, a brief reprieve from the weight of rebellion and risk. The shared jest wove a thread of camaraderie, reminding them both that even in defiance, friendship endured. Beneath the starry veil, their bond was a debt neither owed but gladly paid. Dreadnought searchlights swept across Valria's swirling atmosphere, slicing shadows like cold blades. Inside the cockpit, Ren's breath steadied, hands gripping the controls with unwavering focus. Each pulse of light was a challenge, a reminder of the peril encasing them. His jaw clenched, eyes narrowing against the storm's glare. The hum of engines merged with his steady heartbeat, forging a shield of resolve. Every breath carried the weight of honor and defiance intertwined. Around him, chaos sought to unravel hope, but in this crucible, Ren's courage burned brighter. The storm raged outside, but within, a silent vow echoed, to fight for life beyond orders. With deliberate precision, Ren targeted the vault's field generators and unleashed a concentrated electromagnetic pulse. The hum of containment fields faltered, cascading into cascading sparks as energy barriers collapsed. Biovault pods, once imprisoned by unseen chains, began to drift free, hissing softly as they broke orbit and floated toward the planet's surface. The atmosphere welcomed them like a long-lost embrace. The pod's release was more than mechanical failure. It was rebellion incarnate, a burst of hope defying the Council's iron grip. Ren's eyes tracked their descent, heart pounding with triumph. Each freed capsule was a life reclaimed, a future rewritten. His defiance shattered the chains of oppression, igniting a spark that could not be extinguished. As the vault's containment flickered and dimmed, Karen's hologram softened, voice gentle yet resolute. "Thank you, my friend." Her image wavered, fading like a whispered farewell. Ren's fingers brushed the console, his whisper steady, always. The weight of their shared ordeal hung between them, an unspoken promise beyond words. In that fleeting moment, amid rebellion and sacrifice, trust was sealed like a bond forged in stars. The fading projection left a lingering warmth, a reminder that loyalty transcended duty, fear, and protocol. Ren's gaze lifted toward the void, carrying the resolve to honor that promise, no matter the cost. Ren's fingers flew over the datapad as streams of encrypted files poured in. Admiral Karen's secret logs, dark and damning. The digital flood revealed Gene Splicer's grim experiments, engineered bioweapons designed to ignite a pandemic, consolidating Council control through fear and death. Hollow animations flickered, viruses morphing, viral agents refined with ruthless precision. The weight of the conspiracy pressed on Ren's chest. This was no mere battlefield tactic, but a calculated genocide disguised as order. Each file peeled back layers of deception, exposing how power was forged in the crucible of suffering. Among the files, chilling images of sealed biovaults and stasis chambers teased the horrors hidden beneath Valria's surface. Ren's eyes hardened. He wasn't just fighting for rebellion. He was fighting to prevent the darkest nightmare from unfolding. The price of control was written in genetic code, and the galaxy's fate hinged on his next move. The flickering hologram of Admiral Karen took shape, her expression etched with fatigue and resolve. "I destroyed half a fleet to stop the spread," she admitted quietly, voice heavy with sacrifice. Branded a traitor by the Council, she carried the weight of exile and betrayal on her shoulders. "I risked everything to expose their plan, to save lives, even if it meant becoming the enemy." Her eyes searched Ren's, seeking understanding beyond accusation. The scars of political exile and moral clarity marked her, as both hunted and hero. Despite her fall from grace, her conviction burned bright, a beacon amidst the darkness. Rin felt the burden she bore, realizing that sometimes salvation came cloaked in defiance and sacrifice. In her confession lay a harsh truth. The fight was no longer just about rebellion, but about redemption. Hollow flashes shimmered in the dim cockpit light, ghostly echoes of the Council's darkest experiments. Cold, sterile labs stretched endlessly, their walls lined with flickering monitors displaying viral sequences. Silhouetted scientists, faces masked in clinical detachment, manipulated gene splicers with ruthless efficiency. In shadowed chambers, rows of children lay suspended in stasis, their fragile forms bathed in a pale, unnatural glow. The innocence of life suspended contrasted sharply with the sinister purpose. Bioweapons refined under the guise of scientific progress. The hum of machinery was a lullaby of impending doom. Rin's chest tightened as the images unfolded, a chilling reminder of what was at stake. These are not just data points or collateral. They were lives, futures, and the soul of entire worlds. The laboratory was a crucible of ethical decay, and the battle ahead was as much for morality as for survival. A buried directive scrolled across the hollow display in stark, unforgiving text. Deploy bioweapon on Valeria to quell uprising. The cold command struck like a hammer, shattering any lingering hope of diplomacy. Rin's eyes scanned the terse orders, accompanied by urgent warnings and encrypted authorizations. The bioweapons release was imminent, a catastrophic solution to political unrest masked as security protocol. The Council's dark calculus was brutally clear. Sacrifice millions to preserve control. The implications were devastating. Valeria's skies, already heavy with sulfur clouds, would soon bear the weight of engineered plague. As the countdown clock blinked ominously, Rin felt the crushing weight of impending disaster. This was more than a battle. It was a genocide sanctioned from the highest echelons. The ultimatum left no room for hesitation. The fate of millions rested on swift action. Rin's jaw clenched tightly as the truth settled deep within him. They'd kill millions, including the innocents you saved, he said, voice low but fierce. The scope of the Council's cruelty was staggering. Karen's gaze met his steadily, unwavering. That's why you're here, she replied softly, her tone laced with resolve. Together, they carried the burden of responsibility, not only to fight, but to protect those who had no voice. The weight of innocence hanging in the balance sharpened their purpose. It was no longer just rebellion. It was a race to save lives from annihilation. In that moment, determination ignited, a fierce commitment to defy the darkness, whatever the cost. Rin's fingers hesitated briefly before injecting Karen's override code into his comlink. Immediately, alarms blared across his cockpit, warning signals flooding every sensor. Red markers flashed ominously on his HUD. Every Council vessel now identified him as hostile. The cost of rebellion was isolation. Once a trusted officer, he was now a target-branded enemy by his own fleet. The echo of protocols betrayed whispered threats of summary execution. Yet, in that moment of exile, Rin's resolve only deepened. Marked and hunted, he embraced the role of outcast for the greater good. Defiant in the face of betrayal, he prepared to stand alone, a lone beacon of justice amid the Council shadows. The vault's monitors blinked relentlessly, a countdown timer ticking down the final moments. Pandemic release in T-minus 212. The air grew thick with tension as seconds slipped away. Rin's breath hitched, matching the rhythm of the beeping alerts. Every tick was a step closer to catastrophe, a heartbeat nearer to irreversible destruction. Around him, systems hummed with urgent warnings, flashing red with impending doom. The race against time was ruthless, no margin for error or hesitation. Each second weighed heavy with the lives still trapped below. The pressure coiled tighter, steeling Rin's nerves for the desperate actions ahead. Failure was unthinkable, Survival demanded swift, unwavering resolve. Ren slammed the uplink command, releasing the bioweapons formula and council secrets into the vast rebel networks. Streams of data surged through encrypted channels, rippling across star systems and igniting hope among disparate factions. Holographic network maps illuminated command centers as Allied leaders absorbed the damning truth. Faces of shock gave way to grim determination, whispers turning into calls for action. The torrent of information shattered ignorance and fear, arming every free world with the knowledge to resist. Rin watched as the rebellion's heart pulsed stronger, fueled by transparency and unity. The weapon had become a weapon of liberation, their greatest hope in this shadowed war. Knowledge was the rebellion's most potent shield, and its release marked a turning point in the galaxy's fate. Rin tapped the console deliberately and announced, "Codebreaker." The name resonated, a mantle forged in secrecy, defiance, and truth. Karen's holographic smile blossomed with approval. "Fits you well." This new identity marked a rebirth, a transformation from loyal officer to rebel icon. It was a symbol of unyielding resistance against oppression, a beacon to those still shackled by fear. Ren accepted it solemnly, feeling the weight and honor entwined in the name. It bound him to the cause, to Karen, and to every life depending on their fight. Codebreaker was no longer just a call sign. It was a promise, a mission, and a legacy in the making. Their forearms clasped tightly. Rin and Karen sealed their pact with silent determination. For every life at stake, they vowed in unison, the words heavy with meaning. The connection was physical and emotional, a bond forged in shared sacrifice and unbreakable resolve. Flickering lights danced across their joined arms, casting shadows that echoed their intertwined fates. Neither spoke, but their gazes conveyed everything: trust, commitment, and a mutual promise to stand together against the darkness. This moment crystallized their partnership as more than strategy. It was a covenant born of necessity and hope. United, they prepared to face the storm, driven by the lives they swore to protect. Ren's hands steadied on the thruster controls as the skiff surged upward, shields flaring under the relentless barrage from Council dreadnoughts. Blazing plasma bolts screamed past, lighting the void with deadly arcs. The skiff twisted and weaved through the hailstorm of fire, engines roaring in desperate defiance. The hull shuddered under impact, systems warning of breaches. Ren's focus sharpened, every evasive maneuver a gamble against annihilation. Debris streaked past, illuminated by explosions erupting around the vault complex. Despite the fury, the skiff pressed onward, fueled by determination and the unyielding will to survive. Each heartbeat was a victory carved out of chaos, each burst of speed a testament to rebellion's fire. As Council Marines stormed his interceptor's wing, Ren's laser cannons flared to life, painting the shadows with lethal light. His gaze hardened, eyes burning with unyielding defiance. "They'll have to break me first," he snarled under his breath, steeling for the final confrontation. The corridor shook with footsteps and the hum of armored suits. Targeting systems locked onto incoming threats, laser sights converged on his position. But Rin stood resolute, a lone sentinel amid the storm, refusing to yield. His every move was calculated, each shot fired with the weight of countless lives behind him. In this crucible, his defiance became legend, a symbol that tyranny could be challenged and broken. Across the sprawling star lanes, an urgent transmission blared from every council outpost. "Codebreaker active. Marshal all forces." The message echoed like a death knell, stirring fleets into frantic motion. Bridge consoles across warships flickered with flashing holo alerts as officers scrambled to respond. The once orderly corridors buzzed with chaos. Pilots rushed to battle stations. Commanders barked orders with sharp urgency, and screens tracked the rogue interceptor now marked the galaxy's most wanted. The Council's unified response was desperate yet unyielding. They sought to crush the rebellion before it could ignite. In the shadows of the stars, Run Alden's defiance had become a symbol, a spark igniting the flames of revolution. The weight of treason pressed heavily, but so too did the hope it inspired. The galaxy watched, holding its breath, as forces marshaled for the coming storm. Far from the heart of the Council's power, frontier systems stirred with newfound resolve. Ships bearing Admiral Cairn's crest, emblems of defiance and hope, answered Wren's coded beacon, warping into position with precision. The ragtag armada was a mosaic of designs and cultures, battered freighters, sleek fighters, and commandeered vessels for forgotten skirmishes, all bound by a single purpose. Crews shouted orders, faces lit by the glow of instrument panels, their spirits buoyed by shared conviction. Each ship's arrival bolstered the swelling tide, signaling that the rebellion was no longer a whisper but a roar. The stars themselves seemed to align as disparate factions coalesced into a formidable force, ready to reclaim the galaxy's future. In this moment, hope transcended fear, forging a unity that the Council had long underestimated. The hunt intensified as mercenary fleets surged through the void, eyes locked on the prize, the Codebreaker. Across shadowed corners of the galaxy, bounty hunters rallied for the 50 million credit reward, their ships sleek, fast, and deadly. These mercenaries wove through asteroid fields and debris belts with practiced ease, engines humming a deadly chorus. Captains stared intently at tracking screens, weapons primed for the chase. Each knew the stakes. Catching Ren Alden meant fortune, fame, and favor with the Council. Yet, behind the gleam of opportunity lurked ruthless resolve. Failure was fatal. The relentless pursuit injected a brutal tension into every hyperspace lane, pushing Ren's fleet to the brink. This was no simple chase. It was a test of endurance and cunning where only the swiftest and most determined could hope to survive. Across the crackling Vox channels, Ren's voice rang clear and unyielding. They'll get a fight instead. His words cut through the static, igniting fierce determination among scattered crews. The message galvanized the rebels. Pilots tightened grips, engineers steadied hands, and captains exchanged nods of renewed purpose. Faces hardened with resolve. Hope flickered brighter amid encroaching darkness. As his words echoed through the void, tension shifted from fear to defiance. It was a call not just to battle, but to stand unwavering against tyranny. Through every transmission, Ren's defiance became a rallying cry, a promise that surrender was not an option. In that moment, the rebellion found its voice, fierce and unbreakable. In a rare moment of calm amid chaos, rebel admirals convened to offer Ren formal command of their combined fleets. The gesture was one of respect and recognition, an acknowledgement of his leadership and valor. Yet Ren's response was humble but firm. "I fly with you, not over you." His words underscored a shared vision of equality, unity, and mutual trust. The offer was declined not out of pride, but conviction. Leadership meant partnership, not hierarchy. The room echoed with approving murmurs as camaraderie deepened. In that exchange, a new model of leadership emerged, rooted in respect and solidarity. Together, they prepared to face the storm as equals, bound by purpose and trust. Beneath a sprawling belt of ionized debris, the meteor veil, Run guided the straggling armada with practiced precision. The asteroid fragments shimmered faintly against the void, a natural cloak for his fleet's stealth approach. Engines flared softly as ships weaved deftly through the shifting maze of cosmic rubble, avoiding detection by Council patrols. The eerie silence was punctuated only by the hum of reactors and the occasional whisper of command transmissions. Every maneuver was a calculated risk. One wrong move could expose them to annihilation. Yet, beneath the tension, there was a thrill, a cunning dance through chaos that gave the rebels a fighting chance. As Valria's darkened silhouette loomed ahead, the meteor veil offered more than concealment. It was a symbol of resilience, shielding the hope of a galaxy desperate for change. Inside the dimly lit Rebel flagship, Ren stood before the flickering holoscreens, scrolling through casualty feeds. Hundreds of names, faces frozen in time, flashed across the displays. Soldiers lost in the skirmishes ignited by his defiance against the Council. Each loss weighed heavily on his shoulders, a grim tally of the price paid for rebellion. His jaw tightened as images of fallen comrades blinked in and out, the silence of the ship contrasting with the chaos those battles had wrought. Around him, the hum of the ship seemed distant, as if mourning alongside him. The burden of leadership was raw and unyielding, the sacrifice of so many a constant reminder of the stakes at hand. Standing quietly beside Ron, Admiral Thessa Cairn's voice broke through the silence, heavy with remorse. "I'm the reason they're targeting you." Her eyes flickered with pain as she revealed the weight she carried. She had once been his mentor, but now, with the Council branding her a traitor, the pursuit had escalated. Her hesitation betrayed a deep internal conflict, the guilt of her actions, knowing that by exposing the truth, she had placed Ren directly in harm's way. Yet, beneath that guilt lay fierce loyalty, a silent vow to protect the man fighting for what she believed was right, no matter the cost. Ren turned sharply, his steady gaze locking onto Cairn's. "You're the reason I fight," he said firmly, his voice calm but resolute. The fight was bigger than personal vendettas or political games. It was about saving those caught in the crossfire. "We save them all, or none," he added with unyielding determination, his posture radiating quiet strength. The pain of loss was tempered by an ironclad purpose. Together, they stood not as broken individuals, but as a unified front, ready to confront whatever storms lay ahead. In that moment, their shared mission transcended doubt, forging a bond stronger than fear. The flagship shuddered beneath their feet as distant sensors picked up the unmistakable signatures of enemy dreadnoughts decloaking nearby. The air hummed with tension, red alert lights flashing throughout the command deck. The heavy guns of the massive vessels tracked their position with cold impatience, a silent promise of destruction. Crew members exchanged grim looks, steadying themselves for the inevitable confrontation. Outside, the stars seemed to darken as the shadows of warships eclipsed the void. It was the calm before the storm, a fragile moment where every breath felt weighted, every heartbeat counted. Cairn reached out and gripped Ren's hand tightly, her voice dropping to a whisper laden with vulnerability. "Promise me you'll come back." The urgency behind the plea pierced the heavy silence. Her eyes searched his, reflecting the precariousness of the moment, where hope and fear collided. The touch was a lifeline amid the uncertainty, a fragile thread binding them through the storm ahead. Around them, the hum of the ship faded as all attention focused on that simple but profound vow. In that clasp of hands lay the weight of trust and the courage to face whatever came next. Placing his palm firmly over hers, Ren's voice was steady and unwavering. "I'll always return. My code can't be broken." His eyes held a fierce conviction, the kind born from years of discipline and unyielding loyalty. It was more than a promise. It was a declaration of identity. The soft glow of the command deck's lights bathed their faces as a quiet warmth settled between them. In that moment, doubt gave way to a renewed faith. Their bond, forged in fire and shadow, became a beacon, unbreakable and steadfast in the face of the coming storm. In the cold depths of Valria's orbit, a formidable crescent shield began to take shape, an armada of rebel vessels interlaced with loyalist deserters, unified under the banner Operation Redemption. Ships of varying classes and origins glided into formation, their engines glowing softly against the shadowed planet below. Energy shields flickered in precise harmony, creating an unbroken arc of defense that encircled Valria like a protective embrace. The fleet's collective resolve pulsed through every hull, a testament to strength born from shared conviction rather than allegiance. Tactical command vessels coordinated seamlessly with frontline frigates, their combined, might a beacon of hope amidst the void. Above the swirling sulfur clouds of the planet's surface, the crescent shield stood firm, a symbol that division could be overcome, and that unity was the key to survival. In the silence of space, this coalition forged from hardship promised not just protection, but redemption. Within a secure command chamber aboard the flagship, Rinaldan and Admiral Thessacairn co-chaired a hollow conference that spanned star systems. Projected holographic maps hovered above the table, detailing intricate networks of life support corridors and humanitarian aid routes. World leaders, humans and Valok alike, spoke with measured resolve, voices weaving plans to sustain Valria's fragile recovery. Each delegate's face reflected a newfound respect, transcending past enmities in favor of collective survival. Tactical discussions blended military precision with compassionate governance, as strategies for distribution and defense were meticulously outlined. Ren's calm directives balanced Cairn's passionate pleas, their partnership a visible pillar of hope to all present. The room buzzed with quiet determination, a testament to leadership willing to bridge divides. This joint command was more than coordination. It was a covenant to heal and protect a planet on the brink. Cairn's voice resonated clearly across the chamber, cutting through the murmurs. No more secrets between us. Her words carried the weight of hard-won trust and the promise of transparency. Heads around the hollow table nodded in solemn agreement, the past betrayals fading beneath their shared resolve. Ren added firmly, "Only truth." The declaration was met with murmured affirmations and clasped hands, sealing a pact not just of strategy, but of honesty. Faces lit by the gentle glow of holoscreens reflected determination and vulnerability intertwined. In this moment, old wounds began to heal, and the fragile unity forged in adversity found solid ground. The room seemed to exhale collectively, as if the burden of deception had lifted. Here, amid the cold stars, truth became the foundation on which a renewed alliance would stand. As the conference concluded, the fleet's holocrest shifted, illuminating every hull with a new emblem, a braided symbol intertwining human and Valok elements. This beacon of defiance pulsed softly against the dark expanse, its radiant glow a testament to resilience and hope. The ships moved in coordinated grace, their formations a dance of solidarity as they maintained their vigil around Valria. Below, the planet's surface began to shimmer with tentative signs of recovery, lit by the fleet's protective presence. The emblem's light spilled across command consoles and watchful eyes, reminding all aboard of the unity that had been forged in adversity. In the vast silence of space, this shining symbol declared a clear message. Though shadows of oppression loomed, together they would shine brighter and stand stronger. Under Captain Ren Alden's precise direction, a network of medical satellites initiated their coordinated assault on the pandemic ravaging Valria. From orbit, shimmering clouds of microscopic nanites were released, cascading like raindrops through the planet's toxic atmosphere. Each vial contained a specialized purification agent designed to neutralize the engineered bioweapon's virulent spread. The satellites pulsed synchronized purification bursts, causing the nanites to swarm and bind with harmful pathogens, rendering them inert. Ground sensors confirmed the gradual clearing of airborne toxins as the atmosphere began to shimmer with renewed vitality. From command consoles, technicians monitored real-time data streams, witnessing the hopeful reversal of devastation. Below, the planet's surface showed tentative signs of recovery as the lethal clouds thinned, allowing shafts of sunlight to pierce the once darkened skies. The spectacle of advanced science combating biological horror was a beacon of hope, a testament to humanity's resilience and the power of innovation against tyranny. Admiral Thessacairn took the helm of her flagship, guiding it carefully into Valria's thinning atmosphere. Below, quarantine zones awaited desperately needed aid. From the vessel's belly, sealed pods containing fresh, potent serum were deployed with precision, parachuting gently towards scattered relief workers and weakened survivors. Each pod, equipped with biostabilizers, released its precious cargo amidst the tension and exhaustion of those on the ground. Faces lifted in awe and gratitude as the vials were distributed, their glow a promise of healing and second chances. Medical teams, bolstered by the arrival of the serum, set up triage stations under the hazy sky, their determination reignited. Karen's steady hands and unwavering resolve inspired hope, turning the flagship into a lifeline amid chaos. The capsule's descent marked a turning point. Life restored not just by technology, but by courage and compassion from those who dared to fight. The Council's desperation surfaced in a brutal counterattack as dreadnoughts unleashed biocidal rounds intended to exacerbate the outbreak on Valria. These rounds, engineered to spread further devastation, soared through the sky with lethal intent. However, the rebels' ingenuity quickly turned the tide. Deployed chaff clouds absorbed and neutralized the toxic projectiles, converting deadly agents into harmless inert gas before they could strike. Explosions veiled the sky as clouds of chaff billowed and drifted across strategic points, safeguarding critical zones and vulnerable populations. Sensor readouts on Rebel command consoles shifted from red alarms to green status updates, signaling successful defense. The desperation in the Council's assault was met with equal determination and scientific mastery. The battlefield became a chessboard where wit and innovation outmaneuvered raw aggression, protecting the innocent and turning once fatal attacks into symbolic defeats. Ren Alden's fingers danced across his console, executing a masterful hack into Valria's defense grids. With relentless focus, he rerouted power flows and encrypted command signals, locking down Council deployment bays crucial for reinforcing their bioweapon operation. Systems flickered and alarms flared aboard enemy vessels as their bays shuttered unexpectedly, trapping troops and supplies within. The once imposing military apparatus ground to a halt, the blockade effective in forcing surrender or retreat. From his cockpit HUD, Ren watched enemy formations falter, their plans unraveling with every override. His calculated cyber assault was a testament to brains prevailing over brute force, a gambit designed to buy precious time and dismantle the Council's grip. The grid lockdown echoed across communications channels, signaling a critical turning point in the battle for Valria's survival. As the toxic clouds lifted and sunlight bathed the scarred planet, Karen's voice softened in the cockpit. "They'll sing your name across worlds." Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears and quiet pride. Ren met her gaze, his tone steady but humble, only if they never forget theirs. The weight of countless lives lost and saved hung between them, a shared burden carried with grace. In that moment of fragile victory, the promise was clear: honor was not in glory, but in remembrance and the courage to keep fighting for those who could not. Their whispered vow was a quiet anthem to resilience, a beacon shining bright even amid the darkest battles. In a final act of defiance and hope, Ren initiated the upload of cure protocols to every accessible archive and communication network across the galaxy. Streams of encrypted data cascaded outward, flowing through interstellar relays and touching distant rebel outposts and scientific enclaves. Scientists, engineers, and planetary defenders received the schematics and biochemical blueprints necessary to replicate and deploy the nanite cures themselves. Holographic maps lit up with data streams racing toward every vulnerable world, sparking coordinated efforts to combat bioweapon threats before they could take root. The sharing of knowledge became a powerful shield, a decentralized safeguard, ensuring no planet would face such devastation alone again. This torrent of information embodied unity, turning isolated struggles into a collective bulwark against tyranny and disease. Following the collapse of their offensive, Council command ships reluctantly lowered their weapons. The proud lords of the regime faced tribunals instead of annihilation, their fate to be decided by law rather than vengeance. Courtrooms were filled with tense silence as proceedings commenced, observers scrutinizing every testimony. The atmosphere was charged yet measured, justice prevailing over retribution. The decision marked a turning point, signaling a commitment to mercy and due process even after years of oppression. For the survivors and rebels, it was a hard-won acknowledgement that peace required more than victory. It demanded fairness. This justice tempered the fires of rebellion, offering a chance for healing and reconciliation instead of endless cycles of bloodshed. Rin and Karen stood before the gathered assembly to proclaim the Code of Compassion, a new doctrine prioritizing the sanctity of life above all else. The declaration echoed through council chambers and public broadcasts alike, signaling a decisive break from the council's ruthless past. Citizens and leaders alike embraced the message, envisioning a galaxy where governance was rooted in empathy and respect for all beings. Across star systems, celebrations erupted, and rallies bore the new emblem, a symbol of hope and renewal. The Code of Compassion became a beacon, inspiring policies that protected the vulnerable and encouraged peaceful coexistence. Solar flares shimmered in the background as a new star map was unfurled, each world shining brightly, united under a shared commitment to nurture and safeguard life for generations to come. The skies over Vauria had cleared, unveiling a world reborn from the ashes of war. Sunlight filtered through wisps of lingering clouds, casting golden hues on sprawling cities rising anew. Across the plains and river valleys, cranes moved steadily, lifting skeletal frameworks into towering structures. Streets buzzed with activity. Diverse groups of workers, engineers, and volunteers united under shared governance councils dedicated to rebuilding not just walls, but trust. Flags bearing the Alliance and Veloc emblems fluttered side by side, symbols of cooperation after years of conflict. Marketplaces reopened, schools welcomed children's laughter, and public squares thrummed with cautious optimism. The scars of battle still marked the land, but each brick laid and each handshake forged testified to the resilience of those determined to heal. Vauria was no longer a battleground, but a beacon, a testament to hope manifesting in renewal and the steadfast will of a united people. Captain Run Alden moved through organized refugee camps set along Vauria's recovering coastlines. Medical tents dotted the landscape, where doctors and nurses tended to the weary and wounded with gentle hands and steady resolve. Rin oversaw the careful resettlement efforts, coordinating resources and ensuring displaced families found shelter and security. Nearby, Admiral Thessa Cairn led scientific teams deep into once-scarred ecosystems, planting genetically modified flora designed to accelerate healing. In greenhouses and open fields alike, researchers cultivated alien plants engineered to restore soil vitality and cleanse polluted waters. Together, they embodied compassion in motion, balancing immediate humanitarian needs with long-term ecological restoration. Their hands-on leadership inspired hope among survivors who watched barren fields transform into patches of verdant life. Vauria's future was being carefully woven by those who understood that true healing required both diligence and heart. Rin was offered command of the newly rebuilt fleet, an honor that would have elevated him to the highest echelons of power. Yet he declined with calm resolve, stating simply, "I guard the code, not command the sword." His refusal was met with respectful nods and firm handshakes from officers who understood his deeper purpose. Ren's contemplative gaze lingered on the distant horizon, his commitment rooted in protecting the ideals that had guided him through rebellion and sacrifice. Leadership, to him, was not about wielding authority, but about preserving the integrity of principles that could prevent future tyranny. His role as codebreaker was a guardian of truth, a beacon for those who sought justice over dominance. In humility and purpose, Run embodied the quiet strength necessary to ensure that the mistakes of the past would never be repeated. On the vast plains of Vauria, bathed in warm sunlight and stirred by gentle breezes, Run and Cairn stood side by side as survivors gathered to plant healing spores into the fertile soil. Each handful of earth turned symbolized growth, unity, and a shared commitment to nurture a world once broken by conflict. The hopeful faces of children, elders, and newcomers alike reflected a future bright with promise. Close-ups captured hands working the soil, dirt-streaked fingers pressing seeds with care, smiles exchanged beneath the vast sky. The ceremony was both an act of restoration and a pledge to protect what had been reclaimed. In that quiet moment, legacy was rooted deeply in care, cooperation, and the unyielding belief that even the smallest seed could grow into a towering symbol of peace. In the bustling plaza of Valria's new capital, a small child tugged gently at Captain Run Alden's sleeve. Her wide eyes shimmered with curiosity and hope as she asked, "Is it true you broke the code to save us?" Around them, citizens went about their daily lives beneath towering spires and banners fluttering in the morning breeze. Ren's smile was gentle and patient as he knelt to meet her gaze, the weight of countless sacrifices softening in his warm expression. The scene was one of vibrant life, a testament to peace born from rebellion. In that moment, the child's innocent question bridged past turmoil and the bright future now unfolding. Ren's voice was soft as the dawn light spilling over the cityscape. "I broke it to honor the only code worth living, compassion." His words carried the weight of hard-earned conviction and the quiet triumph of empathy overcoming rigid law. He looked beyond the child's eyes to the horizon where sunlight painted the skies in gold and rose hues. The memory of conflict and betrayal lingered in his mind, but here was proof that mercy could rewrite even the strictest edicts. The warmth of the morning wrapped around him as he spoke, a reminder that courage is not just in defiance, but in choosing to protect the vulnerable, to break chains not for power, but for hope. Standing steady beside Ren, Admiral Thessacairn placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "And that saved us all," she added, her voice calm but filled with pride. Their shared legacy was etched not only in victories, but in the mercy and humanity that guided their actions. Together, they embodied the strength found in partnership, two leaders who had navigated darkness and emerged committed to healing a fractured world. The bond between them spoke of trust forged through hardship and the quiet knowledge that true salvation requires more than force. It demands compassion. Above the city, twin suns crested the horizon, casting long, golden shadows across the skyline. The light spilled over spires and plazas, illuminating faces turned skyward in quiet reverence. This celestial dawn was more than a natural spectacle. It was a symbol that even the darkest laws could bend before the whisper of mercy. In this new era, compassion had rewritten destiny's code, lighting a path forward for generations yet to come. The twin suns shone as beacons of hope, proof that where mercy leads, even the hardest chains dissolve, and a galaxy once fractured could finally find unity and peace.